to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween.
Hey guys, I'm Armand, and it's been a long time since I've recorded and posted a video. Now you may be thinking, what about the Rome videos and the Prague video and the Budapest video? Well, those weren't green screen. They were taken way back when I went on a trip there in summer. So it's actually been a really long time since I actually created an original video and posted it. So today is a Halloween special. First, we're going to be talking about the history of Halloween.
Would you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween.
Now, Halloween, it turns out, started with a Celtic festival known as Samhain. Samhain was the day before, or the Celtic New Year actually, and was supposed to be when the veil between the spirit and human world was at its very thinnest. So, to ward off evil, the Celts would wear garlic, which was later replaced by jack-o'-lanterns later into our history, and would wear costumes and collect offerings. However, as the Catholic religion grew in the 1700s, pagan festivals like Samhain were frowned upon, and it wasn't used anymore, until the Church at Vatican decided that they were going to fuse Samhain with another holiday, and November 1st became Mass of the Saints, or Hallowmas, and the day before was Hallows Eve, and later Halloween. However, Halloween came to America during an event known as the Irish Potato Famine. And yes, that's an actual thing, and it killed a lot of people because they were starving and they relied on potatoes and stuff. So a bunch of Irish immigrants basically came to America, and they introduced Halloween to the Americans. And that was the beginning of the common Halloween. In 1930s, masked pranksters began committing vandalism and doing crazy things like removing pieces of fences and like breaking down doors, and they wore masks, as I said before, so no one would recognize them. And so the adults were understandably fed up with this, and they're just like, fine, just take a bunch of candy, you can have the treats if you don't do the tricks. And that's how trick or treat came about, and that's why we hop around to different houses to collect candy. However, the vandalism was way back in the 1930s, and things have changed a lot back then. Now, if you're wondering what I was for Halloween, it's a complicated story, so I'm going to try and sum it up. So, basically, I was going to be Midoriya from My Hero Academia, and it was, when we checked the package, it said it was going to come at 9 o'clock on Thursday, which was Halloween day, and we're like, oh shoot. So instead, we decided to be Todoroki from My Hero Academia, and so we did the makeup and like the hairspray and stuff like that. But right when we were about to leave to go to my friend's house for trick-or-treating, the costume came.
Would you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween.
4 hours earlier than it should have become. So I was a fusion character, sort of. Yay. Now let's talk about a piece of ugly history. So I'm pretty sure you all know what witches are.
Would you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween.
Because like they're really famous in cultures and mythologies. Like there's Baba Yaga from Russia, there's all sorts of stuff. But witches and witchcraft were actually believed in the 14th to 18th century in places like Europe. Actually mostly in Europe. So witch hunting was unfortunately popular back then, and it stemmed from the belief that people worshipped Satan instead of God. It gained traction when a pope gave a friar and professor of theology named Heinrich Keimer permission to inspect people for witchcraft. His first attempt in the town of Innsbruck failed, but undeterred, Heinrich wrote a book called the Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches. The book suggested the existence of witches and ruthless tactics to dispose of them. Other people were inspired and began to write books about similar topics, spreading the belief in witches. Soon it grew into a really big thing, and people were genuinely afraid of witches. And they would generally accuse the elderly or the poor or social outcasts, people who were most likely suspects of witchcraft. And occasionally they would even choose children for the most trivial things. And punishments for witches grew from small things like fines to huge things to like being burned at the stake. Two unfortunate victims of the witch trials who endured tons of torment because they denied that they were witches were Rebecca Len and Maria Hull. And when they eventually did confess, they were very weak, and Rebecca Len was burned at the stake before her very family. It's really cruel. Witch hunting eventually stopped due to theologists and actually smart people who were focusing more on science than just superstition. And so they wrote about the cruelty of the witch trials, and then it eventually started stopping. So yeah, that's basically a summing up of the Salem witch trials. A horrible, horrible thing. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'm Armando Waskar, and this was my Halloween special. See you later.